I'll never forget the day Karen first saw my forest house. It was the summer of 1998, and I'd just retired from my job as a carpenter in upstate New York. I wanted a quiet place, somewhere to escape the noise of the city, breathe fresh air, and tinker in peace. That's when I stumbled across a listing in a local paper, a small, abandoned forest cabin on 5 acres, deep in the woods near Pine Hollow Creek. The price? $25. Yes, you read that right. $25. The previous owner, an old woodsman named Gus, was moving south to be closer to his grandchildren and didn't want the hassle of selling the property through a broker. He just wanted it gone. I wrote a check for $25, shook his hand, and became the proud owner of what looked like little more than a wooden shack swallowed by trees. Enter Karen. Karen was the president of the nearby Homeowners Association, a self-appointed guardian of good taste in the area. She owned a huge house just a mile from the forest edge, perfectly landscaped, everything in pristine order. She prided herself on enforcing rules even where none existed. The first time she saw my $25 cabin, she laughed, loudly. "That little shack," she said, shaking her head. "You can't even call that a house. What on earth are you planning to do with it?" I smiled politely and said, "Just live in it, I suppose." She couldn't understand it. For weeks she made snide remarks to neighbors, took photos from her driveway, and even tried to involve the county in improving the area. She didn't see what I saw: tall pines, the creek rushing in spring, the quiet mornings where deer wandered past the porch. I got to work. I spent weekends fixing the roof, clearing the overgrown brush and building a small stone fireplace. I replaced broken windows, added a tiny loft, and planted a garden of wildflowers. Slowly, the shack became a cozy retreat. It wasn't fancy, no electricity, no running water, but it was home. Karen never stopped watching. Every time she drove by, she would slow down, snap a photo, and mutter about blight or wasted property. I ignored her. Then came the day that changed everything. It was 2007, almost a decade later. I had turned the cabin into a charming, rustic getaway, a place friends and family loved to visit. I had a small clearing where we could gather, a creekside deck, and even a handmade canoe that I used to explore the creek. One afternoon, I got a letter from the state. It said that the governor would be visiting our county as part of a program highlighting sustainable small properties and local heritage sites. He was coming to Pine Hollow Creek to see the unique forest homesteads that demonstrate self-reliance and conservation. And guess where they wanted him to visit? That's right, my cabin. Karen found out almost immediately. The next morning, she drove up in her shiny SUV, dressed in her Sunday best, practically vibrating with disbelief. "You're kidding," she said when she saw the preparations. "They're coming here?" I just nodded. "Yes, seems they're interested in the forest restoration and how I've maintained the property." When the governor arrived, he was genuinely impressed. He walked the paths I had cleared, admired the stone fireplace, and even took a canoe trip down the creek. He asked questions about the construction, the garden, and how I had done it all without spending a fortune. Karen tried to insert herself, suggesting improvements, offering unsolicited advice. But the governor barely glanced her way. He wanted to hear about the cabin, the forest, and the history I had preserved. By the end of the visit, Karen was practically hiding behind a tree, muttering to herself. Neighbors later told me she drove home in a fury, her pride wounded beyond repair. From that day on, she never mocked my cabin again. In fact, she was unusually polite when she saw me on the road, though I could tell she still didn't quite approve. I didn't mind. The satisfaction of knowing the governor had visited and admired my 25 cabin was more than enough. Now, years later, I sit on the porch in the evenings, watching the sunset through the pines. The cabin hasn't changed much, just a little more polished, a few extra touches from friends who visit. It's still humble, still simple, but it holds decades of memories, hard work, and quiet triumphs over snide neighbors like Karen. If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. Value what you love, work hard, and don't let others' opinions dictate your life. Sometimes the smallest things, even a 25 shack, can earn the admiration of those who matter most. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and share it with friends who love a good story about HOA drama, neighborhood rivalry, and a little bit of sweet, satisfying revenge.